Right then, I make it time, so we will get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on our today's masterclass, looking at recruitment and retention in CoolCare. As I'm sure you're already aware, CoolCare is here to make operating your care home easier, more efficient, and more profitable. We'll be showing a few different things today to look regarding recruitment retention side of things to help with that. As we're going through today's masterclass, if anyone does have any questions at any points, feel free to use our Q&A option on Zoom. You should see the option on your Zoom window. Click on that box and bring up the Q&A window where you can answer any questions, ask any questions you've got, and a member of our team will be on hand to answer any questions you have for us. Anything you think of as we're going through, don't be afraid to ask, and we'll have a little bit of time after the session is finished to just wrap up and ask any questions that you might have at the end. But anything you think of, like I say, don't be afraid to ask as we're going through. As for what we'll be looking at today, as I say, recruitment and retention. So seeing a few different things on here. The main bit will be looking at our recruitment section on CoolCare and to understand the importance of a smooth and effective recruitment process and how CoolCare can help with that. And then looking at the different ways CoolCare can actually help with staff retention as well in a few different ways in terms of keeping on top of our staff records and our staff members, communication with them and all that kind of thing as well. So we'll be seeing a few different bits in today's training. As I say, any questions anyone's got, to use the Q&A, don't be afraid to ask, and we'll be able to answer any questions you have at all. Right, I'm just going to swap over to my demo system, and we can get started. Right, so we'll start off by looking at our recruitment process in CoolCare. So recruitment's obviously a very important thing for any care home or any business in general. If we need new staff, we want to get them into our business as soon as we can. And a smooth recruitment process is the main thing important about that. And CoolCare can help with your recruitment for your home and has an entire section dedicated to the recruitment process, which you can find under your care home section. Just under there, you'll find, amongst the other stuff, our recruitment page in there. I click into that, it takes us to this section here. And the recruitment page essentially is broken down to two main sections, two tabs you can see on there. We've got one for vacancies and one for applicants. Currently both empty on mine, as you can see. That's because it'll be looking for, by default, looking for anything that's active in your system. If you've got any active vacancies you've created or any active applicants you've created, they'll show up in there right away. All of mine are all previous ones, which I can see if you click your all. Quick little toggle on the right hand side, I can change that to all vacancies to see historic vacancies I've created within my company on there. And in a similar vein, I can do the same thing with applicants as well. But the idea with the recruitment page is we would create our two different sections on here. So we create our vacancies for job vacancies we have within the company, and then we can create our applicants separately on there for anyone that's applied for different vacancies we might have. We can then bring the two together to essentially go through our full recruitment process. And ideally, if someone does get hired off of this, they can turn it into a staff record on CoolCare as well. So we'll start with adding in our vacancy. If I click the new vacancy button at the top of the list here, and you see, we can then fill out details of our vacancy, what position we're looking for, what job we want to fill in, etc. All the details we might have. So my vacancy name, I'm going to say I'm looking for a new bank carer, essentially a new carer to work bank within my home. I can call that in there. And I can fill out the details I require. The pay, if you want to fill in that, the hours they might be filling, and the position it is specifically for. So in this case, it's a care assistant in my home. The status, if it's currently active, we want to start looking for it right away and be aware of it, or I can put it as a draft version, say we might want to be setting this up for now and come back to it to make it active later on. For now, we're going to keep it as active on there. You can pop in a publish date, say, when the kind of vacancy job advert was published publicly on there, and add in any additional details you might need. So, for example, I'm just going to pop a note on here just to say, carer looking to ideally cover both day and night shifts, for example. So they're looking for a bank carer, but they might be open to doing both day shifts and night shifts within my home. And I can then save that. And that will create our new vacancy right on here. And you can see there, it tells me the name of it, the position it's for, and it's currently active on mine. And all these numbers here tell me about any applicants I might have attached to it. In this case, being a brand new one, I don't have one in there right away, but those numbers will fill up as we can see as we go through. So with our vacancy created, that's essentially, what the job vacancy is for. And then we can create an applicant to potentially attach to that vacancy. So any applicants you've got, you can add them onto here using, again, the new applicant button. And it's just filling out details of applicants on here. There's fair few bits of information you can fill out on here regarding personal details, contact details, information you might have on record for them. But the only thing that's actually required is the name. So you can fill out as little or as much as you know to start with on here. We're going to pop in a couple of details in here. That's create a random name in there. And that's whatever information we might have on record for them, we can pop in right away. And obviously stuff we can fill in as we go through. So maybe I've just got a name and some personal details for them. I don't need to worry about their contact information right now. But there's also an additional bit on here where we can add in other details, specifically where they may have heard about this job, different options on the vacancy they might have seen. That's, for example, LinkedIn, I don't know, or job sites. And you can even see a little tick box there if they've received, if you've got a CV from them as well that they've sent in, and any additional notes you might have. So once we've filled out our details of our applicant there, we can save it, and that creates our applicant's record here. And obviously you can add in as many applicants and vacancies as you need on the system. I'm just doing one of each for purposes of demonstration on here. But now that we have our two separate bits, the vacancy and the applicants, from here, we can actually now link the two together. So if I click on this bank carer vacancy that I've created, I can open the details of it. I can update the information in there as required. I can update the status if I need to. But we can see on the right-hand side, you get this box appear for applications to actually add an applicant on to this vacancy. Just clicking the button there, manage applications, and it then brings up this list, which will be a list of active applicants you have on the system. In this case, obviously just the one I've got active on mine. But if I click on them from there, it will pop them on the right-hand side to say they're going to be added onto this vacancy. And I can remove them if that was done by accident as well. So pop them on there, click add applicants, and then there we are. Or it is now attached to this bank care vacancy that I've created. And you'll see the status on there will start as new, to say it's just been newly added onto this on here. So if I save them, we can also see now on my vacancy how that updates our numbers. In this case, it's basically broken down the number of applicants based on different stages of the vacancy we might be at and the recruitment process. So if they're brand new, they've been screened, interviewed, offered, rejected, etc. in there. And we can update that at any point just by going into the vacancy here, and you can see the status next to each applicant. Click on the little drop down there, and you can change your options on that. So if I say Orange's been screened now, we could save that, and then we'll update the numbers on the front. So you can see kind of how many people, applicants you've had, and how far we're getting to different stages with different people. So you can update the vacancy at any point going through the process. And the same thing goes for the applicants. We can update those at any point as well. For example, I said I've received a CV from Lauren. So now if I click into her on here, I can actually insert that document and add it on to her record. So we can attach the CV to the applicant. Again, just by clicking on the insert button on here, we can then fill out the details. So say we've got a CV, the date it was added onto the system, and we can upload that file like we're uploading documents anywhere else on CoolCare if you've seen that. We just choose a file from your computer, choosing our options from here. In this case, I'll just use an image I've got on mine. That'll work fine, as long as it's one of the right file types there, a Word document, a PDF, an Excel spreadsheet, an image, text file, can all go into that. Upload it, and then, just like that, it's saved against the applicants on there. And if we save their record, that's then updated for them. And that's the general idea with it, is you would update your applicants as you find out more information about them or need to add it onto their record. And we can, as we go through the employment process, go through the options on here saying they've been interviewed, they've been offered the job, or they've rejected it, and at the very end, if they've been hired. And with that, if we save it as hired, still keeps them on here. But the important thing is, once, if we are actually hiring them, bringing them into the company as a new staff member, you can then click the hire button on the right-hand side. As you can see there, it'll create a staff member from this application and move the uploaded documents to the staff record as well, which just means we're bringing Lauren as a new staff member. If I click on the hire button there, it takes us to our staff section. And from here, we can then fill out the rest of our details to create the full staff record. Whatever information you had during the application process will come across onto the new staff member onto here as well. So some of the stuff I filled in automatically already, like a name is in there automatically. The other stuff I might need to fill in as defaults. For example, the date of birth here, I'll need to add in because that's not required by the application, but will be required for our staff record. And everything. And again, any extra details you might have. So if I had filled in their address and contact details during the application process, that would come into the address details on the left-hand side. The only thing that doesn't come across is the position from the vacancy. So you do still have to choose that on here. Pop them in as care assistants, pop them in as bank, and other details we'll need for them. So she could be starting, for example, next week, next Monday. From there, we can then click next and fill out the rest of our details, whatever extra information you might have to fill in for your new starter. Well, all the rest of the stuff is optional, so I'm going to leave that stuff since we're not worried about it for now. Save that. And just like that, our new starter is now in the system, Lauren, to start next Monday. As easy as that. And with the new record added in there, with the then kind of recruitment side of it done, if I go back to the recruitment page on here just to show you, you can see the vacancy still stays active. So it might be in the case of some vacancies, you're looking for multiple, new hires rather than just the one. So the vacancy will stay open if you need it. Whereas the applicant will then be marked as hired, so disappear from my applicants list. But you can still find it, like I say, using the toggle there to search through all your applicants. And I can find Lauren on there from that. So if you ever do need to reference the applicant record, it is still kept on the system. But in this case, with this vacancy, also I just need the one, so I don't need to worry about having multiple applicants on there. So once you are done with this vacancy and we've filled in the role in this case, I can click into it and I can just change the status from active to hired. We could change it to closed if we need to just say close it off, and actually we don't need a new hire right now, so we can close it if we don't need it. Or we could even put it on hold, so we put it on one side temporarily, but might want to come back to this at a later date. But in this case, as I say, we're going to put it as hired and say that's been hired on there. And then just like the applicant, the vacancy will disappear because it's no longer active, but you can always reference those if you need to, finding the vacancies on the tab on there. That's what it should do. So we're going to take a moment. There it is on there. So you can always reference anything previously added to the system just using the toggles at the top there with the recruitment page on that. And with that recruitment process done, as I said, there'll be a new staff record on the system adding in from the recruitment page, including all the details we added in during the recruitment process, which also includes, if I go to the documents page, the documents we attach to the applicant record. So essentially, again, the more you do during the process of the recruitment side of things, all the information you add on that applicant record, all of that then carries across to the new staff record, so you can easily just create them on CoolCare from one to the other. You don't have to worry about duplicating data or adding it in, again. With that, you can just carry over from one to the other, as easy as that. And that is CoolCare's recruitment process. It's a nice and straightforward page, and there to be used for anything you need it for, or to help with your staffing needs. But of course, once we do have our new staff members, it's important to be able to retain them and keep our staff within the company, keep them happy, to keep them working. And that's where CoolCare has a few options to help with our retention in staff members. Looking at the records and, I guess it's kind of communication payments on there, and just keeping up with our staff members to ensure they're happy in their role, to keep them in the job. And one way to regularly check in with your staff members and make sure they are, happy with their role and happy with their position is to do appraisals and supervisions. And we can keep track of those using CoolCare. You can see straight away on your dashboard in the system, we have our option for staff appraisal and supervisions in one of our widgets, where you can keep an eye on those appraisal supervisions that are coming up soon to be done, or stuff that we may have missed on there as well. And these dashboard widgets, if you don't know, essentially are set up by kind of in the background of the system for each user. So everyone, when they log in, will see their own dashboard with their own widgets on there, and they can keep track of what they need to. One of them I've got on here, like I say, is appraisals and supervisions. Looking at my staff records and seeing what's coming up for them. And it will call code them accordingly, as you can see on here. So the ones that are red are overdue, so they should have been done last week. And the ones that are white are coming up soon, so they should be done next week, or the weekend, I believe that is, the 18th. So that might be done next week instead. But we can click on them from here, take us to our staff records, and we can go through the appraisal supervision process from there. So if I say we'll do Stacey, you should have been done on the 6th here, I can click into a record. Clicking them from the widget takes you straight to the staff member and usually to the right page in question as well. So in this case, taking me to the appraisal supervised session page, where again, I can see on here the next supervision that should have been done on the 6th. To add that in, we can click the insert button at the top of this page and fill out the details of the supervision. So which one we're doing, either a supervision or appraisal. They both work the same way. The only thing that will change is when the next one is due for them. So in this case, we'll do the supervision. The date complete, when that was done. So we say we didn't do it last week, I actually did it yesterday instead. I might have just missed it and did it on different dates. And that will automatically work out when the next appraisal is due. And that'll be based on some settings in the background in CoolCare. So in my case here, mine's set up to be done once every 3 months. So you can see how that comes through onto there. And then the allocated supervisor can either be selected from your current staff list or your other staff members, or you can just enter a custom name and type in the box instead. So I'm going to go select from current staff and pop in my name in there. You've got a details box for any extra information you want surrounding this, and a couple of tick boxes to save everyone that's signed off and happy with that. Save it on there. That adds the supervision onto their record, so we know everything's still okay with the staff member and they're all happy. And that's obviously then feeds through to everywhere else, including the dashboard, where I'll have one less name on there. So just as those appraisal supervisions are coming up, you'll be able to see them on there. Easy. You can also use CoolCare to track training for staff members, which is again, upskilling your staff is important to keep track of them and make sure, again, they're able to do their roles to the best of their abilities, which, upskilling staff is always a good way to retain them as well. And there's a few different ways in CoolCare we can see that training overdue. There is actually one widget for it, which I actually don't have on mine. But the best way to see it is actually through your staffing reports. In there, the big one, the training matrix, telling me about all my staff members, all the training, and keeping track of it from there. We can add training in via the calendar on CoolCare or through the staff records. This is just a way of seeing all the training for all your staff, which you can narrow down if you need to through our positions and through our training if it's set as mandatory or additional from them. Again, CoolCare can be set up what training staff members need to do as part of their role, how often it needs to be done, if it's renewable or not in there. And we can then see that's on here to see what training staff members have through that. It's a really nice report to keep track of that training, and then that could feed into other parts of CoolCare in terms of what training we need to do into our calendar to actually book in the training and keep our staff members skilled, trained on there. Very important for retention and sales training to ensure your staff members can do what they need to and make sure they're able to kind of even progress in their roles as they need to. Another good thing with retention would be our communicating with staff. And a couple of ways in CoolCare you can communicate with your staff members to ensure they're kept up to date with what's going on with either their role or with their with the shifts on the rotas, that kind of thing as well. Cool places you can actually text staff from CoolCare. Firstly, through the staff messaging under the care home section, we can message staff through here and actually see full conversations with them just by sending new SMSs out from this page. And you can send it to multiple staff members as long as they've got a mobile number on their record. You can then send them text from CoolCare using this or let them know about anything that they need to be aware of. Or they can also be messaged through the rota to find shifts for them in there as well. And that can be done through the shifts themselves just by clicking into it. And from there, you can ask them to pick up shifts from there. Again, communicating with your staff members what your needs are, and they're aware of it. So they're, as I say, kept up to date with what's going on, and they can even interact with CoolCare a few ways with that, including our staff portal, a separate thing that staff members can access to interact with CoolCare in a few ways, seeing their holidays they've got booked in, their shifts they've got planned in for them, and even requesting shifts, requesting holidays, all that kind of thing they can see through that portal in there. It's all good. So there's plenty of ways you can kind of communicate with your staff members through CoolCare and keep up to date with what's going on, so everyone's aware of what's happening, and that way your staff members are kept in the loop with what's going on that they need to be aware of. And the other great way to help with staff retention is make sure your staff are paid accurately. That's all about what your timesheets are for in CoolCare and your payroll processes in here. Your timesheet tracking your staff hours and your payroll, where you can keep an eye on this, checking your staff members' hours, ensuring they're getting the right amounts that they should be contracted for and working for, and plenty of reporting to help with that as well. Seeing staff contracted versus worked hours and all sorts of things in terms of budgeting and just keeping on top of everything you need to know staff-wise to ensure they're working to the best of their abilities. And an extra thing pay-wise on there is CoolCare can also link in with one of our partners, which is FlexEarn for earned wage access. If you don't know what it is, essentially a way for staff to, I think, access wages ahead of payday if they need a little payment advance. That can be done through FlexEarn, our partner. And if you can get in touch with our support team for more information on that side of things if you'd be interested on that. But it's all controlled by your CoolCare timesheets and payroll side of things, which then can see. I think very good for staff members if they need that additional money a little bit earlier with payment advances on there. But yeah, CoolCare has plenty of ways it can help with staff retention, seeing stuff in real time, keeping up with your staff, finding out what's going on with them, and helping them wherever they need that assistance through training, through appraisals and supervisions, through the messaging and portal to communicate with them, all that kind of thing. Really, let's say, a lot of stuff on CoolCare can help with your staff retention. It's very important to obviously keep your staff once they have been obviously recruited through our recruitment page. But that would be all to show for today's masterclass. So just a couple of extra slides to show you before we wrap up for this session. Firstly, if you are interested in additional training on CoolCare, whether you oversee financing, payroll, rota management, tracking residents, whatever it might be, you can work with our training team online or in person, and you may be entitled to some free of charge training. Every customer has at least 2 30-minute sessions as part of their CoolCare subscription. And you can contact us at training to check your entitlements and book something in if you want to. Email us training@coolcare.co.uk or give us a ring 0113 385 3853. We can help you out and get some training booked in for you if you'd like. And with that, all I have to say is thank you for joining us on today's masterclass. And our next session will be looking at our rotas on the system, some tips and tricks for managing rotas within CoolCare. So in that case, thank you all for joining. We'll leave the session open for a few more minutes, just in case anyone has any further questions. You can use our Q&A and ask our team. But yeah, thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you all next time.